Hi, everybody. Welcome to this edition of 49ers Talk on Niners Radio 49, the Monday edition. We'll do the aftermath. Well, after the first five Mondays after a Niners victory, had a victory Monday. This one's kind of a little bit different. It's not going to be a victory Monday. It's going to be kind of a Monday defeat, we should say, as the Niners are falling just short to the Cleveland Browns on Sunday, yesterday afternoon at Cleveland Stadium in Cleveland by a score of 19-17. We're going to give you a recap on this podcast of this game. We'll hopefully try to get some more of the news of the injuries with both Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, who both left with injuries. Deebo Samuel with the shoulder injury. The thing was, he got X-rays on that shoulder, and it was ruled as negative. He's going to get an MRI. Hopefully, we get some more news later as we're doing this podcast taping, and hopefully on Niners Radio 49 Plus Audiocast, and we'll give you more further details on that injury when Kyle Shanahan does his press conference, when it becomes available. So the Niners end up disappointing, trying to go 6-0 in the start of the season, and they fell just as Jake Moody missed a potential game-winning 41-yard field goal with 4 seconds left, and the Niners end up coming up just a buck short. Niners end up falling to the to the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland in Northern Ohio by a score of 19-17. That gives the Niners their first defeat in 2023. The Cleveland Browns, with their victory, by the way, improves to 3-2 in this interconference matchup. And we'll look at this historical fact of this series. The Niners, since the Browns, this was only just the third visit to Cleveland for the 49ers. They're only their third time they had made their trip to Cleveland, the new version of the Cleveland Browns, since returning to the NFL back in 1999. They only the third time that the Niners have hooked up with the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland since 1984. They go to Cleveland every 8 years, depending on their record, because they're adding the new additional extra week, 18 weeks. They will most likely play the Browns or play the AFC North every 2 years, depending on the Niners' record. Next year in 2024, if both the Niners and Browns finish in the same spot in their respective standings, like for instance, if the Niners and Browns both finish first in their respective divisions, next year they'll most likely hook up again in 2025. But that's something to ponder down the road. The Niners are just a dismal 1-5 or 1-6 in their last 7 meetings against the Cleveland Browns since the NFL-AFL merger back in 1970. The last time the Niners won in Northern Ohio against the Browns was way back in 1984, which was their Super Bowl season. They ended up beating the Browns decisively 41-3. So we're going to just a recap of the score, and then we'll do a quick look at week number 3 on this podcast, and we're going to take a look at the stats and of this contest, and how they could contribute to this loss on Sunday. The Niners end up falling just a buck short to the Cleveland Browns, and we'll get you taking a recap of this game, and we're just going to of this game, and then just for the let's pick it up in the first quarter when Brock Purdy connected with Christian McCaffrey on a 13-yard reception for a touchdown that put San Francisco on the board 7-0. Then the second quarter, Jake Moody kicked a 25-yard field goal and increased San Francisco's lead 10-0. The Niners, remember, after the interception and this was right after when Fred Warner had an interception that set San Francisco, and then Actually, no, it was 10-0 San Francisco. They later, or in the contest, they got an interception by Fred Warner, but the Niners were not able to get no points off that turnover, off that Browns, off their takeaway. So, but then the Browns come back, responded by former Chiefs running back Kareem Hunt, who's filling in for the injured Nick Chubb, who was out for the season with a serious knee injury. They end up and tie the game at 10-10, and then on a 4th and 3, Dustin Hopkins, he was brilliant. He hit a 46-yard field goal that made it 10-3 favor of the Browns in the 3rd quarter. Then in the 4th quarter, Jordan Mason rushed for an 8-yard touchdown run, and the Niners went ahead 17-3. The Niners end up being +1 in that turnover ratio, got 2 takeaways, and that they were +2. And then Dustin Hopkins with 3 minutes and 20 boomed a 50-yard field goal and made it 17-16. And then the 4th quarter, he hit a 29-yard field goal, and that with a minute 43 left, and made it 19-17. The Niners got the ball back, driven right down to where in the range of Jake Moody, the rookie, and he missed a 41-yard field goal with 4 seconds left, and that turned out to be the game. The Browns got the ball back with a victory formation to kneel out the clock, and that was all she wrote. And it was the Cleveland Browns pull off the upset. The Niners knocking the Niners out from the ranks of the unbeaten as they beat your San Francisco 49ers by a score of 19-17. So let's take a look at some of the individual stats for the game. Individual stats presented by Ticketmaster. Ticketmaster purchase your 49ers individual game tickets, and you can go to Ticketmaster.com/49ers. Ticketmaster.com is the official ticket provider for your San Francisco 49ers. 49ers, the Browns were 18 first downs to the Niners 15. The Niners were 3 out of 13 on 3rd down, or the Browns were 3 out of 13 on 3rd down efficiency. The Niners were just 3 of 12. The Browns were 1 for 1 on 4th down. The Niners did not convert a single 4th down. And in total net yards, the Browns 334 total net yards to the Niners 215. Passing yards, Browns 174 to the Niners 107. Rushing yards, the Browns had an effective ground attack, 160 yards to the Niners 108. Total plays, the Browns made more, 70 to the Niners 55. So it was a minus 15 play dip swing for San Francisco. And in completion attempts, the Browns were 18 out of 34, Niners just 12 of 27. The Browns rushed the ball 34 times, Niners rushed it for 25. The Browns had 2 turnovers, the Niners had 1, and the Niners was a takeaway ratio of +2, but they had that 1, and then time sack. The Niners were sacked 3 times, Browns 2 sack yards, both 18 apiece. But the penalties were the difference that cost San Francisco. They were penalized 12 times for 105 yards. The Browns were no better. 13 times they were penalized for 119 yards. Time of possession, 33 minutes and 3 seconds for the Browns to your 49ers, 26 minutes and 57 seconds. So let's take a look of the other statistical numbers in this contest. Brock Purdy was 12 of 27, 125 yards, a touchdown pass to an interception. Jordan Mason, 5 attempts for 27 yards and a touchdown. Brandon Ayuk, 4 catches for 76 yards. P.J. Walker filling in for the injured Deshaun Watson. This is a former USFL quarterback, played in the independent league. He led the league in passing a few years ago before COVID shuts down the season. Probably would have been the league MVP of that league, that spring league. He was 18 of 34, 192 yards passing. He threw 2 interceptions. Kareem Hunt, 12 carries for 47 yards. And the former Raider Cowboy, Amari Cooper, 4 catches for 108 yards in the contest. Had some big plays, and that was the difference of the contest. And then let's go to the stats for San Francisco. Also, Christian McCaffrey Before he left the game, 11 carries for 43 yards, averaging 3.9 yards per carry. Ray McLeod, 2 carries for 23 yards, averaged 11.5 yards. Debo Samuel left before, had 2 carries for 11 yards. And then receiving, Brandon Ayuk targeted 4 times, 4 receptions for 76 yards, averaging 19 yards per catch. Juan James targeted 4 times, 2 receptions, 26 yards, averaged 13 yards. Kyle Juszczyk caught 1 ball for 9 yards. And Christian McCaffrey 3 times targeted, 3 catches for 9 yards. And then George Kittle targeted twice, 1 catch for 1 yard in the contest. Jake Moody was 1 out of 3 in field goals. His longest was 25. He was 2 for 2 in his extra points, got 5 points, but missed 2 field goals. That was the difference in the contest. He missed a 54-yard field goal, then he missed a 41-yard field goal, a potential game winner for San Francisco. Defensively, they played very well. Deshaun Gibson, he had 2 solo tackles, 1 assist. Eric Armstead, 3 solo tackles. And then Randy Gregory, who they recently acquired for the Broncos, 3 solo tackles. And then Hargrave had 5 solo tackles, 1 assist. Brett Warner, 3 solo tackles, 4 assists. And then it was Travarius Ward, 4 solo tackles, 1 assist. Nick Bosa had 3 solo tackles. He ended up getting 1 sack in the contest. And then Siobhan Kinlaw had 2 assist tackles. And then Tufunga, 5 solo tackles, 2 assist tackles in the contest. Punt return on the special teams. Ray McLeod punt 3 times. 3 returns, averaged 6.5 yards, as long as it's 13 on the punt return. Kickoff return, 2 returns, averaged 22.5 yards, as long as it was 28. And then Jake Moody, of course, was 1 out of 3. He only made 1 of his 4 field goal attempts. Mitch Wisnowski's punted 6 times, averaging 52.3 yards per punt. And then let's take a look at the Browns. As their leader of the running game was Jerome Ford, led the way for the Brownies. 17 carries, 84 yards, averaged 4.9 yards, almost 5 yards on the ground. Kareem Hunt, the former Chief, 12 carries, 47 yards, averaging 3.9 yards. Marquise Goodwin, the former Niner, 1 carry for 20 yards. And then receiving, Amari Cooper had a big day, 108 yards in receptions. And then it was Hopkins, the kicker, Dustin Hopkins, was 4 out of 5. He in his 5 attempts, his longest was 50 yards. And then you look at the defense as well. As we look at Myles Garrett, had 1 solo tackle, 2 assists, and then the punt, and that was how it went on Sunday for your San Francisco 49ers. They fought to the end defensively, played very well, but the special teams, when you miss field goals and miss scoring opportunities off the turnover or takeaway ratio, you're not going to win a lot of games. So, this was kind of a bit of a letdown for San Francisco after the demolishing of the Dallas Cowboys a week ago on Sunday Night Football. So the Niners, they dropped to 5-1, we're going to take a look at the scoreboard coming up as some of the finals are from the Ravens with their victory over the Titans, a long renewable rivalry, 24-16. The Commanders over the Falcons in Atlanta, 24-16. The Vikings defeat the Bears, 19-13. The Niners got some good news. Not only they lose, the Seahawks lose, 17-13 to the Bengals. So the Niners remain, I believe they remain a game and a half ahead of the Seahawks for first in the NFC West. So not as bad of a loss. And the Bengals picking up a must-win game. And then it was the Miami Dolphins, who right now may be the best team of the AFC, 42-21 with the final score of that contest. The Jacksonville Jaguars over the Colts, 37-20. The Texans over the Saints, 20-13. The Raiders over the Patriots, 21-17. Patriots dropped to 1-5. They're off to their worst start for a Bill Belichick team ever in his tenure as head coach of the Patriots. Patriots as a team are off to their worst start. They've lost 5 of their first 6 games. Their worst start since 1995 when Bill Parcells, Bill Parcells' protege, a longtime assistant with his days with the New York Giants, lost 5 of their first 6 games. Other scores: the Rams over the Cardinals 26-9, and then the big shocker of the day also, the New York Jets knocking out the Philadelphia Eagles at the Meadowlands in New Jersey 20-14. For the New York Jets, this is their first ever win versus the Philadelphia Eagles in 12 tries, 12 of the previous 13 tries. The 13th time was a charm. So congratulations to former 49ers defensive assistant Robert Saleh as the Jets getting off the schneid, defeating the Philadelphia Eagles for the first time ever in their franchise history. Other scores: the Detroit Lions 20-6 over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers down at the Sombrero. The Buffalo Bills over the New York Giants in a rematch of Super Bowl 25, 14-9. And then we'll take a look at for Thursday night. It was the Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champion, Kansas City Chiefs 18, the Denver Broncos, or 19. The Broncos are 8. And then the bye week this week, both the Packers and the Steelers were off this week. So let's take a look at the standings in the NFC West. The Niners, with their victory, are 5-1. They're now 2-0 in the division. Even though, despite their loss, they still own a game-and-a-half lead over their game-and-a-half up on the Seahawks for the top spot in the NFC West. So the Niners don't lose no ground. Rams are 3-3. They're 2 games behind the Niners. And the Cardinals, who sit alone dead last in the NFC West with a 1-5 record, have lost 3 in a row. Detroit Lions are 5-1. They sit right there for first place in the NFC North. Green Bay, and right now they own a 2.5 game lead ahead of the Packers. And then the Vikings dropped to 2-4. The Bears dropped to 1-5. And then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're 3-2. They're a half game behind the Atlanta Falcons at 3-3. Them and the Saints are tied 3-3. And the Carolina Panthers are 0-6. And then in the NFC East, Philadelphia has a 2-game, or they do have a 1 or game-and-a-half lead. Washington sits at 3-3 in the standings, and then the New York Giants are 1-5. So we continue on our Niners Radio podcast as we are taking a look at we just take a look at it of our some other news going around the NFL is we're going to try to get you more of a report on the Christian McCaffrey injury, and we hope we'll get some word by Niners head coach Kyle Shanahan. And this was from Heavy.com, Niners on the 49ers, and we don't know what it's going to be. If we get a developing story, we'll give you the information as it develops. Deebo Samuel will be back. Their team in the Bay Area today. They did not stay back in the Eastern time zone. Deebo Samuel will be getting an MRI on his shoulder, see how extensive the injury is, and we'll see how the injury with Christian McCaffrey and their status for next Monday night's game is uncertain at this time. We'll give you more information on their status as it develops. And also, the Niners will be getting ready to take on the Minnesota Vikings for Monday Night Football next week. 1 week from tonight, as we're doing this podcast taping, they will be at the U.S. Bank Stadium, and the kickoff time will be at 5:15 p.m. local time. To catch the action on ABC Sports, on ESPN on ABC with Joe Buck along with Troy Aikman. Game will be on the U.S. Bank Niners Radio Network with Greg Papa and Tim Ryan with the call for the 49ers. And just a final look of it's not the end of the world. Everybody's blaming Jake Moody of the missed field goal, but the Niners didn't make enough plays. So that's just how it is. This is and put it in perspective. When the Niners always play the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland, it's going to be a tough game. And people forget Jim Schwartz who is the defensive coordinator, used to worked as an intern, worked under Bill Belichick's staff in the early 90s when Bill Belichick was the head coach for the original Cleveland Browns, when he was there for 4 or 5 seasons. And also with him and Nick Saban, both were protégés of Bill Belichick on that original Cleveland Browns staff back from 1981 to 95. Of course, the Browns played their final season in Cleveland in 1995 before they headed to Baltimore after the 1995 season, and then the new Cleveland Browns came in 1999. So there is just kind of a tidbit of a perspective of this game. You got to give the Browns a lot of credit. This was a must-win game. They could not go to 2-3. And you look at the AFC standings. We want to take a look at the AFC standings as well, because that's Cleveland with that victory. Look at the AFC North from week number 6, and of course Cowboys will be playing the Chargers on Monday Night Football as we're doing this taping. And then we'll take a look at the standings in the AFC, the American Football Conference. And right now, Miami sits at 5-1. Them and the Chiefs are tied with the best records in the AFC. Buffalo 4-2. They're a game back. Jets are now 3-3. They're only 1 game behind the Buffalo Bills. The Patriots are 1-5 off of their worst. They're on a 3-game losing streak. Their worst start since since the Patriots back in 1985 when Bill Parcells was head coach, and then the quarterback was led by Drew Bledsoe. Chiefs are right now, they have on a commanding 3-game lead over the LA Chargers. The Chiefs on a roll after the Chiefs losing that opener in week 1 to the Detroit Lions. The Chargers are 3 games back. This is probably a must-win game for them, because if they lose this game tonight, they could, the Chiefs are in a position now to put some distance on themselves for the AFC West. The Raiders are 3-3, and the Broncos are 1-5. Speculation that they will be having a fire sale, getting rid of some more. We trade some more players at the deadline. The trade deadline, by the way, coming up 2 weeks from tomorrow on Tuesday, October the 30th, or I believe the 31st, 2 weeks from, that will be 2 weeks from tomorrow on October 31st on Halloween. The trade deadline will be at approximately 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific Standard Time on the West Coast, where trades can, they try and make those, where the trade deadline, the Niners will probably still be active for another shutdown cornerback, and the Niners will be probably looking for another shutdown quarterback. Niners Radio 49 will give you all the action of that trade deadline when it comes coming up as the trade deadline looms on October 31st on Halloween, and the deadline will be at approximately 4 p.m. Pacific, or 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 o'clock p.m. on the West Coast. And then let's take another look at with the Ravens winning on Sunday. They're now 4-2. Cleveland Browns, they're just only a half game behind both the Steelers and the Ravens. The Steelers right now are they're tied for second with Pittsburgh. The Steelers already beaten them head to head. So, and the Steelers were off on Sunday, and the Cleveland Browns, they're 3-3 with their a critical win, beating the Seahawks. So they'll be coming out to the Mecca, taking on your San Francisco 49ers in the rematches of both Super Bowl 16 and 23. 2 weeks from this coming Sunday on October 29th. And that will be, the slate will be at 1:25 will be the kickoff, and you can get your tickets at Ticketmaster.com. And it all depends on what happens on Monday night. If the Chargers were to lose to the Cowboys, with the Bears losing on Sunday, you never know. That game could be flexed out into a potential prime time. The Niners and Bengals could get that slot. The game is actually going to be on CBS, and I'm assuming Jim Nantz and Tony Romo with that call. But it could be flexed into the Sunday night prime time, depending on the outcome of tonight's Monday night's game between the Cowboys and the Chargers. If the Chargers were able to win this game, they'll probably keep that Chargers-Bears game intact for Sunday Night Football on NBC. If not, after tonight, we'll get word, because we'll be within the 12-day window where a game could be flexed, scheduled for a better game. So we'll keep you intact with that. So, That's all what we have, and nothing hard for the loss. The Niners, of course, the Seahawks lost, and that's what matters. So the Niners maintain a game-and-a-half lead in the first place in the NFC West. They're back at 1 week from tonight. They'll take on the Minnesota Vikings. We'll be on location next week for 49ers Radio Monday Night Live in San Francisco, somewhere in the city. Niners and the Vikings up in the upper Midwest at the U.S. Bank Stadium in downtown Minneapolis. 5:15 is the kickoff time. And then after that, after the short week, the Niners then be back to take on the Cincinnati Bengals on the 29th at Levi Stadium. For now, it'll be a 1:25 kickoff, and that will be on CBS. It will depend on what's going to happen later on. What happens later on, whether that game gets blacked out. It all depends what happens, what the Chargers do on Monday Night Football. If they were to win, chances are they'll keep that Monday night game intact against the Bears. If they lose, good chance that game will get flexed out for a better game like the Niners and Bengals. So we'll keep in details on Niners Radio 49 as that story develops. And that's going to do it for now. I'm Brian Professor B. Davis. Thank you for listening to this podcast of 49ers podcast, the aftermath of Niners end up falling to the Cleveland Browns by a score of, they end up losing by a score of 19-17. Niners dropped to 5-1. The Cleveland Browns improved their record to 3-2. And the Niners, they'll be able to bounce back, and we'll just keep you on the latest on the injury updates of both Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel on Niners Radio 49 and more as it develops. For now, I'm Brian Professor B. Davis, and so long. Thank you for watching. And the Niners fall 19-17 to the Browns. The Niners fall just a buck short. I'm Brian Professor B. Davis. Thank you for watching this 49ers Monday Aftermath on Niners Radio 49 Plus Audiocast. Thank you for watching, everybody.